What if the only thing stopping you is how you see yourself? This audiobook will shatter self-doubt and reveal your true power. The Winning Formula. Audiobook by Declan Stone, published by Beyond the Noise. Introduction. You wake each morning to face the silent question that echoes through your decisions. Am I good enough? This subtle yet persistent voice shadows your steps, questioning your worthiness, competence, and potential. In meetings, valuable insights remain unspoken as you second-guess their merit. When colleagues praise your work, you instinctively deflect or diminish your achievements. Scrolling through social media triggers waves of inadequacy as you measure your progress against peers who seem to advance effortlessly while you feel stuck in place. This experience is universal, transcending career levels, backgrounds, and industries. Whether you're leading teams or launching a new venture, that underlying current of self-doubt influences every decision, every interaction, and every opportunity, either seized or left unexplored. Yet what if this persistent self-questioning isn't actually about capability at all? The gap between where you stand and where you could be isn't primarily about skills, credentials, or even experience. It's about perception, specifically how you perceive yourself in relation to your potential and the world around you. Imagine an invisible ceiling hovering above you. Unlike the glass ceiling of institutional barriers, this one is constructed entirely of self-limiting beliefs, assumptions, and habitual patterns of thought. The remarkable truth is that this ceiling exists only in perception. When you shift how you see yourself, this seemingly solid barrier dissolves, revealing endless space for growth and expression. At the heart of this transformation lies a profound principle: acting as if. This isn't about pretending to be someone you're not, or artificially manufacturing confidence you don't feel. Rather, it's about aligning with the highest version of yourself that already exists beneath accumulated layers of doubt and hesitation. This book charts a different path from conventional approaches that focus on external behaviors or techniques to build confidence. Instead, we'll explore how small shifts in perception create massive changes in results. Each chapter illuminates this core truth from a different angle, building a complete understanding of how self-perception shapes your reality and results. Through this journey, you'll discover that the question isn't whether you're good enough. It's whether you're ready to recognize the capability that has always existed within you. You'll learn to identify the invisible scripts that have limited your expression and reclaim the power you've unconsciously given away to external validation. By the final page, you won't just understand intellectually how to transform your relationship with yourself. You'll experience a fundamental shift in how you move through the world, approaching challenges not from a place of perpetual proving, but from an unshakable foundation of inherent worthiness. This is the unlocking of your natural state, where extraordinary achievement flows not from striving to become enough, but from the clear recognition that you already are. Your decisions will emerge from a deeper place of knowing, untainted by the need for external validation or the weight of others' expectations. You'll recognize that true confidence isn't something you chase, but something you allow to surface when you strip away the layers of doubt you've accumulated. This transformation isn't about adding new skills or strategies to your repertoire. It's about removing the invisible barriers that have kept you from experiencing your full potential all along. Chapter 1. The Mirror Effect. When was the last time you deliberately avoided your reflection before an important moment? That instinctive aversion reveals a profound truth about human nature. We don't just see our physical reflection in mirrors. We see our entire self-concept reflected back in every experience, interaction, and opportunity we encounter. This reflection isn't limited to physical appearances. In professional settings, you might see yourself reflected in a colleague's casual comment, interpreting neutral feedback as criticism because it aligns with your inner narrative. In relationships, you might dismiss genuine appreciation because it conflicts with your self-image. These aren't isolated incidents, but manifestations of a fundamental principle. You don't see reality as it is, you see it as you are. Your self-concept acts as a powerful filter through which all experiences pass. This filter operates automatically, shaping how you interpret events, process feedback, and evaluate opportunities. When you receive praise for a presentation, does your mind immediately search for flaws or potential mistakes? When a new leadership position opens up, does your inner dialogue focus on qualifications you lack rather than strengths you possess? This selective perception isn't random. It's driven by confirmation bias, a psychological mechanism that causes you to notice and remember information that confirms your existing beliefs while filtering out contradictory evidence. If you believe you're not leadership material, you'll unconsciously collect evidence that supports this belief while dismissing instances that challenge it. A successful project becomes just luck, while a minor setback becomes proof of your limitations. These interpretations create self-fulfilling prophecies. When you expect rejection, you communicate differently, perhaps more tentatively or defensively, which increases the likelihood of the very rejection you fear. Your expectations literally shape your reality, not through magical thinking, but through subtle influences on your behavior, body language, and decision-making. Past experiences further reinforce this cycle. One negative presentation in college can become the lens through which you view all future public speaking opportunities. A critical comment from a former manager can color how you interpret feedback for years to come. These accumulated interpretations form the mirror through which you view your present capabilities and future possibilities. This isn't about positive thinking or superficial affirmations. Telling yourself, "I'm confident," while carrying deep-seated beliefs about your inadequacy, creates internal conflict rather than transformation. Real change comes from recognizing and realigning with your authentic capabilities that exist beneath these distorted perceptions. To understand your current self-concept filter, observe your automatic responses to feedback. When someone compliments your work, do you deflect, explain it away, or truly receive it? When facing criticism, does it confirm your worst fears or register as useful information for growth? These reactions reveal the nature of your internal mirror. The same external circumstances can create vastly different experiences depending on self-perception. A team disagreement viewed through a lens of "I'm not respected" generates anxiety and defensive responses. The same situation viewed through "I'm a capable leader" becomes an opportunity to demonstrate problem-solving skills and build stronger relationships. Your experience of reality is fundamentally a reflection of how you see yourself. This mirror shapes everything, from how you interpret a client's tone of voice to whether you raise your hand in meetings or pursue promotional opportunities. The question isn't whether this reflection is distorting your experience, but how, and more importantly, whether you're ready to align it with your true capabilities. Like a lens that tints everything you see, your self-concept colors each interaction, decision, and opportunity that crosses your path. A raised eyebrow from your boss becomes confirmation of inadequacy or a chance to demonstrate resilience. A challenging project transforms into either overwhelming proof of your limitations or an exciting avenue for growth. Every moment passes through this filter of self-perception before reaching your consciousness, creating your unique version of reality. This isn't abstract theory, it's the operating system running beneath your daily choices. When you walk into a room, your self-image determines whether you naturally gravitate toward the corner or confidently take center stage. It influences whether you speak with conviction or hedge your statements with qualifiers and apologies. Your internal mirror shapes not just how you see yourself, but how others come to see and respond to you. Chapter 2. The Authority Principle. Walk into any room and you'll immediately sense who holds authority. It's not about the expensive suit or the corner office. It's an energy, a presence that commands attention without demanding it. This invisible yet palpable quality shapes dynamics before a single word is spoken. What creates this natural authority, and more importantly, why do you sometimes feel its absence in yourself despite your capabilities? You've likely experienced moments where you deferred to others' opinions or judgments, even in areas where you possess genuine expertise. Perhaps you've caught yourself seeking validation from colleagues about decisions you're well qualified to make, or diminishing your viewpoint when someone speaks with unwavering certainty. These moments reveal a crucial insight about authority. It's primarily a matter of perception rather than credential. Authority is granted through subtle psychological cues that often have little correlation with actual competence. Your brain processes these signals automatically, leading you to assign power to others while questioning your own, based on deeply ingrained patterns established long before you entered any professional setting. These patterns trace back to fundamental experiences with authority figures, educational systems, and cultural conditioning. Traditional education positions experts as separate from learners, creating an artificial divide between those who know and those who learn. This framework becomes internalized, leading you to persistently view yourself as the learner rather than the authority, even in domains where you've developed significant expertise. Cultural messaging reinforces this dynamic, suggesting that authority must be granted rather than claimed. Media representations consistently show authority figures being anointed by external forces, receiving titles, degrees, or positions that bestow power. This creates a persistent belief that true authority comes from outside rather than emanating from within. This brings us to a crucial distinction between borrowed authority and inherent authority. Borrowed authority depends on external validation, titles, credentials, or others' approval. While these markers can be valuable, they create a fragile foundation because they can be questioned or withdrawn. Inherent authority, by contrast, emanates from internal alignment with your capabilities and truth. It doesn't require constant reinforcement because it's grounded in self-knowledge rather than external validation. You might worry that claiming your inherent authority could lead to arrogance or overconfidence. However, true authority differs fundamentally from ego-driven dominance. Authentic authority creates space for others to access their own power rather than diminishing them to elevate yourself. When you operate from inherent authority, you naturally empower those around you because you're no longer competing for validation. Consider specific situations where you habitually defer your power. In meetings, do you preface your insights with qualifying statements like, "This might be wrong, but," or "I'm not sure if this makes sense"? In creative projects, do you seek excessive feedback before trusting your vision? In relationships, do you automatically assume others' needs or preferences should take precedence over your own? These patterns reveal places where you've unconsciously accepted authority structures that may not serve your highest expression. Many of these structures are arbitrary, social conventions rather than natural laws. By recognizing their constructed nature, you can begin to question whether they deserve the power you've granted them. Your inherent authority exists independently of external recognition. It's not something you need to earn or prove. It's your natural state when you align with your authentic capabilities. This alignment creates a presence that others naturally respond to, not because you're attempting to dominate, but because you're fully embodying your truth. The power you seek isn't found in accumulating more credentials or waiting for others' permission. It emerges when you recognize and claim the authority that has always resided within you. This shift in perception transforms not just how others respond to you, but how you move through every aspect of your life. Each time you defer your decisions to external validation, you reinforce the illusion that your power lies somewhere outside yourself. But true authority flows from an unshakable inner knowing, a deep recognition that you already possess everything needed to direct your path. When you stand firmly in this truth, your presence naturally commands respect, not through force or manipulation, but through the quiet confidence that radiates from genuine self-trust. This authentic power becomes evident in the smallest moments, when you voice an unpopular opinion without hesitation, make a decision that others question, or simply stand your ground in the face of pressure to conform. It shows up as the courage to say no without explanation and yes without apology. Your actions spring from internal clarity rather than external expectations. And this alignment creates a magnetic field of authenticity that others instinctively recognize and respond to. The authority you've been searching for has never been lost. It's simply been overshadowed by years of looking outward instead of inward. As you reclaim this innate power, you'll find yourself naturally stepping into leadership roles, making bold choices, and inspiring others not through conscious effort, but through the natural expression of your unbridled potential. Chapter 3: The Imposter Syndrome Illusion. Have you ever accomplished something significant only to wonder when everyone would finally discover you don't actually know what you're doing? That question alone likely triggers a familiar tightness in your chest, the hallmark sensation of imposter syndrome. Despite promotions, accolades, or achievements, you find yourself waiting for the other shoe to drop, convinced that any success must be due to luck, timing, or your ability to somehow fool everyone around you. This persistent fear of being found out manifests in countless subtle ways. You over-prepare for presentations, convinced that any small mistake will reveal your perceived inadequacy. You deflect praise, attributing successes to external factors while internalizing every criticism as confirmation of your suspected fraudulence. The mental energy spent maintaining this vigilance is exhausting, creating a constant background tension that colors your professional and personal life. What if I told you that these feelings, far from signifying inadequacy, actually indicate that you're operating exactly where you should be, at the growing edge of your capabilities? This revelation emerges from extensive research showing that imposter syndrome occurs most frequently among high achievers and top performers. The very people you might assume to be most confident in their abilities often grapple with the strongest feelings of fraudulence. This paradox illuminates a profound truth. Imposter syndrome isn't a bug in your psychological software. It's a feature. It appears precisely when you're pushing beyond your comfort zone, engaging with new challenges, and expanding your capabilities. The discomfort you interpret as evidence of inadequacy is actually the sensation of growth in action. Consider the inherent nature of expertise and mastery. As your knowledge deepens in any domain, you become increasingly aware of its complexity and nuance. This expanding awareness of what you don't know creates a perpetual gap between your internal experience of uncertainty and your external demonstration of competence. This gap isn't evidence of fraudulence. It's a natural byproduct of genuine expertise. The traditional narrative suggests that confidence should precede action, that you should feel completely certain before claiming your authority or taking on new challenges. This misunderstanding keeps countless capable individuals trapped in a waiting game, hoping to eliminate all traces of self-doubt before stepping fully into their potential. The reality is that confidence isn't the absence of doubt. It's the willingness to move forward alongside it. Every expert you admire, every authority figure you respect, has experienced moments of uncertainty and questioned their capabilities. The difference lies not in the absence of these feelings, but in their relationship to them. What makes imposter syndrome particularly challenging is its self-reinforcing nature. The more you achieve, the more opportunities arise to experience this uncertainty in new contexts. Each new level brings fresh challenges and novel situations where you haven't yet proven yourself. This dynamic creates a peculiar situation where success actually increases rather than decreases feelings of fraudulence. Understanding this mechanism allows you to reframe these feelings entirely. Rather than interpreting them as warning signs of inadequacy, you can recognize them as indicators that you're operating at the edge of your current capabilities, exactly where growth happens. The presence of imposter feelings becomes not a red flag, but a green light, signaling that you're engaging with challenges worthy of your potential. This shift in perspective transforms how you engage with uncertainty. Instead of waiting for perfect confidence before taking action, you recognize that action itself builds genuine self-trust. Each time you move forward despite doubt, you accumulate evidence of your capability to handle challenges, even when you don't feel fully prepared. The gap between your internal experience and external performance isn't something to eliminate. It's something to normalize. Every professional, regardless of their level of achievement, experiences this disconnect. The solution isn't to wait until you feel completely certain, a day that never arrives, but to recognize that imperfection and uncertainty are compatible with both competence and authority. In fact, this internal tension often drives excellence, pushing you to prepare more thoroughly and engage more authentically with your work. The most respected leaders and innovators in every field continue to wrestle with moments of doubt, not because they're inadequate, but because they're deeply invested in delivering value. Your awareness of what could go wrong, your concern about meeting others' needs, and your drive to improve aren't weaknesses. They're the very qualities that make you effective and trustworthy in your role. Chapter 4. The Performance Paradox. Consider two scenarios of peak performance that perfectly illustrate a fascinating paradox. In the first, you're hyper-focused on demonstrating excellence, monitoring every aspect of your performance, mentally tracking how others might perceive you, and straining to exceed expectations. In the second, you're completely absorbed in the activity itself. Time seems to disappear, and excellence flows naturally without conscious effort. The difference in results between these two states reveals a counterintuitive truth about human performance. This dynamic plays out countless times in your daily life. When giving an important presentation, your desire to appear polished actually creates the tension that makes you rigid and unnatural. During crucial conversations, your effort to choose perfect words interrupts the authentic flow of communication. In creative work, your striving for brilliance often blocks the very inspiration you're trying to capture. The performance paradox at the heart of this phenomenon emerges from how your brain processes information under different attentional states. When you're actively trying to be your best, you activate the analytical, self-monitoring parts of your brain that consume massive cognitive bandwidth. This self-conscious attention creates a form of interference that actually inhibits your natural capabilities. Research in performance psychology consistently shows that peak states of functioning occur when self-conscious monitoring drops away. Athletes describe their best performances as effortless. Artists report their finest work flowing through them rather than from them. And business leaders recall their most impactful moments emerging when they were fully present rather than trying to impress. This isn't just subjective experience. Neuroscience reveals distinct brain states between effortful striving and natural flow. When you're trying to be your best, your brain activates stress responses, increases muscle tension, and diverts energy to self-monitoring circuits. In contrast, flow states are characterized by reduced activation in self-referential brain regions, allowing your natural capabilities to emerge unimpeded. The distinction between trying versus trusting illuminates this fundamental difference. Trying involves strain, effort, and constant self-evaluation. Trusting involves full engagement with the process while allowing excellence to emerge naturally. This isn't about lowering standards. It's about understanding how those standards are best achieved. The physiology of performance anxiety versus immersion provides further insight. When you're trying to be your best, your body often responds with tension, shallow breathing, and stress responses that inhibit optimal functioning. In contrast, states of full engagement are characterized by relaxed alertness, deep breathing, and physical ease that enables peak performance. This understanding transforms how you approach important moments. Instead of amping yourself up with pressure to excel, you can focus on creating conditions that allow your natural capabilities to shine through. Rather than straining to prove your worth, you can trust in your inherent capacity to meet challenges effectively. Some may worry that without actively trying to be their best, their performance will decline. However, having high standards doesn't require constant conscious striving toward them. Just as a tree doesn't grow by straining upward, but by establishing strong roots and following natural processes, your excellence emerges most powerfully when you create supportive conditions and trust your inherent capabilities. Examining activities where you naturally experience flow reveals important insights. Whether playing music, engaging in sports, or losing yourself in creative work, these moments of peak performance occur precisely when self-conscious striving drops away. The key isn't to abandon excellence, but to approach it through immersion rather than effort. The shift from evaluation mode to engagement mode transforms results across contexts. In public speaking, letting go of self-monitoring allows natural charisma to emerge. In leadership, releasing the need to prove competence enables authentic influence. In creative work, surrendering the strain for brilliance opens space for genuine innovation. This principle extends beyond traditional performance contexts into everyday life. Whether in conversations, decision-making, or problem-solving, excellence emerges most naturally when you're fully engaged in the process rather than straining to demonstrate capability. The paradox becomes clear. Trying to be the best often prevents you from accessing your best. You see this play out in countless daily moments. In the flow of natural conversation when you stop monitoring your words. in the grace of movement when you cease overthinking your steps, in the clarity of insight when you release the pressure to find the perfect answer. Your innate wisdom and capabilities shine through precisely when you drop the exhausting effort to prove their existence. Chapter 5. The Identity Edge. Who would you be if everything you've achieved suddenly vanished? If your degrees, titles, accomplishments, and carefully curated professional identity were stripped away in an instant? This question cuts straight to the heart of how we construct our sense of self, often revealing an uncomfortable truth. Many of us have built our identity on the shifting sands of external validation rather than the solid foundation of intrinsic worth. You've likely experienced the subtle anxiety that comes from deriving your sense of self primarily from what you do rather than who you are. It manifests in the compulsive need to maintain certain achievement levels, the fear that any failure might expose your unworthiness, and the exhausting pressure to constantly prove your value through performance. This reversed relationship between being and doing creates a particular kind of vulnerability. When your identity depends on maintaining specific achievements or roles, even temporary setbacks can trigger profound identity crises. You become trapped in a cycle of achievement that never quite satisfies, because external accomplishments can't fill an internal gap. The transformation you seek doesn't begin with changing what you do. It starts with shifting who you believe yourself to be. When you attempt change at the behavioral level while maintaining limiting identity beliefs, you create internal conflict that eventually sabotages your efforts. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one on the brake. The resulting friction wastes energy and prevents forward momentum. Consider how this plays out in the realm of professional growth. Someone operating from an achievement-based identity might set goals like close more sales or get promoted. While these objectives appear reasonable, they often lead to stressed, forced behaviors that feel inauthentic and ultimately unsustainable. In contrast, someone who first shifts their identity to "I am a person who creates value for others" naturally takes actions aligned with this self-concept, generating more sustainable results without the same internal resistance. The neuroscience behind this phenomenon reveals why identity-based change proves more sustainable than willpower-based change. When you attempt to modify behaviors while maintaining old identity beliefs, you're essentially fighting against established neural pathways. However, when you shift at the identity level, new behaviors emerge as natural expressions of your updated self-concept, creating neural pathways that support rather than resist change. This understanding introduces what we might call the identity anchor, a stable sense of self that remains constant regardless of external circumstances. Unlike achievement-based identity, which requires constant maintenance through performance, identity-anchored change creates a foundation that supports growth without depending on specific outcomes. You might worry that focusing on identity creates pressure for instant perfection. However, this misconception stems from confusing perfectionist identity, "I must be flawless," with growth-oriented identity, "I am someone who embraces learning and development." The latter creates space for both excellence and evolution, removing the paralyzing pressure of perfectionism while maintaining high standards. The profound shift happens when you recognize that acting as if isn't about pretending or waiting for external validation. It's about making a fundamental decision about who you are, independent of current circumstances. This choice becomes the foundation from which natural, aligned action emerges. When you approach transformation from this perspective, you no longer need to force behaviors or maintain rigid discipline. Instead, your actions flow naturally from your aligned identity, creating sustainable change without the internal conflict that often derails traditional approaches to personal development. This identity-first approach resolves the common pattern, where temporary behavior changes ultimately revert because they never aligned with your core beliefs about yourself. When you change who you believe yourself to be, corresponding behaviors emerge naturally and sustainably, supported by rather than fighting against your self-concept. The key lies in recognizing that your identity isn't fixed. It's a choice you make moment by moment through your beliefs about yourself. Making this choice consciously, rather than allowing it to be shaped by past experiences or current circumstances, puts you in the driver's seat of your own transformation. Each time you face a challenge or opportunity, you have the power to choose who you'll be in that moment. Your past experiences may inform your choices, but they don't dictate them. By actively selecting the identity you wish to embody, you create a new foundation from which all future decisions naturally flow. This conscious choice of identity becomes your North Star, guiding your actions and responses in alignment with who you've decided to be. Chapter 6: The Confidence Equation. When faced with high-stakes situations, what separates those who maintain their composure from those who crumble under pressure? The answer lies not in their level of preparation or expertise, but in the foundation upon which their confidence is built. Some individuals appear unshakable despite uncertainty, while others, despite impressive credentials and past successes, find their confidence evaporating at crucial moments. You've experienced this frustrating dynamic, the way confidence can feel maddeningly fleeting, soaring after a success only to plummet with the smallest setback. This instability stems from a fundamental misunderstanding about the true source of sustainable confidence. Society promotes the belief that confidence naturally follows achievement, that once you've accomplished enough, earned enough accolades, or gained enough external validation, unshakable self-trust will automatically emerge. This conventional wisdom has it backwards. Genuine confidence isn't built on an unbroken string of successes or constant external validation. Instead, it emerges from how you relate to yourself through both triumphs and setbacks. The confidence equation reveals this truth. Sustainable self-trust equals the sum of genuine self-knowledge, consistently kept commitments to yourself, and a growth-oriented response to challenges. Let's examine each component of this equation. Self-knowledge creates the foundation by allowing you to set realistic expectations and make aligned choices. When you deeply understand your strengths, limitations, values, and authentic preferences, you stop trying to force yourself into ill-fitting molds or comparing yourself to irrelevant standards. This accurate self-assessment prevents the confidence-eroding pattern of setting yourself up for failure through misaligned goals. The second component, keeping commitments to yourself, builds trust through consistent internal integrity. Each time you follow through on promises you make to yourself, whether small daily habits or major life decisions, you strengthen your self-relationship. This internal reliability matters far more than external achievements because it puts you in control of your confidence rather than leaving it dependent on outcomes. The third element transforms how you handle setbacks. When you interpret challenges as opportunities for growth rather than evidence of inadequacy, you develop resilience that withstands temporary failures. This perspective shift allows you to maintain composure during difficulties because your core sense of capability isn't threatened by imperfect performance. Many worry that too much confidence might lead to complacency or arrogance. However, true confidence differs fundamentally from ego-based certainty. Genuine self-trust embraces growth and acknowledges room for improvement, while arrogance rigidly defends against any hint of inadequacy. Real confidence provides the security to admit mistakes, seek feedback, and continuously evolve. Your confidence anchors the internal experiences and values you can access regardless of circumstances, create stability independent of external validation. These might include your commitment to learning, your ability to persist through challenges, or your willingness to begin again after setbacks. By consciously strengthening these anchors, you develop confidence that remains steady even when results fluctuate. The contrast between externally validated and internally generated confidence becomes clear in challenging situations. When confidence depends on constant achievement, the slightest deviation from expected performance can trigger a crisis of self-trust. But when confidence flows from self-knowledge, kept commitments, and growth-oriented responses, temporary setbacks don't shake your fundamental sense of capability. This transformative understanding reveals that confidence isn't a fixed personality trait, but a practice of relating to yourself with consistency and compassion. Each choice to honor your commitments, each willingness to learn from mistakes, and each moment of accepting both your strengths and limitations builds the foundation for unshakable self-trust. True confidence transforms not just your inner landscape, but every interaction and opportunity you encounter. When you build this unshakable foundation of self-trust, you naturally express yourself with greater authenticity and impact. Your words carry more weight because they emerge from conviction rather than need. Your actions align with your values because they flow from clarity rather than compensation. This shift ripples outward, touching every aspect of your life. Where you once second-guessed your instincts, you now move with natural grace. Where you previously held back from fully engaging, you now bring your whole self to each moment. This isn't about becoming someone different. It's about finally allowing yourself to be who you've always been, beneath the layers of doubt and hesitation. The journey ahead invites you to explore this profound distinction between authentic embodiment and surface-level imitation. As you'll discover, the difference lies not in what you do, but in the truth from which your actions spring. Chapter 7: The Authenticity Paradox. In professional and personal development circles, you've likely encountered the popular advice to fake it till you make it. This seemingly practical approach suggests that by imitating confidence, competence, or any desired quality, you'll eventually develop it naturally. Yet something about this advice has always felt misaligned, creating an uncomfortable friction between the drive for authenticity and the pressure to perform. This internal conflict manifests in subtle but significant ways. When attempting to fake it, you might find yourself adopting mannerisms that feel foreign, using vocabulary that doesn't feel natural, or projecting an image that feels disconnected from your true self. This performance creates a constant underlying anxiety, a fear that others will see through the facade, or that you'll slip out of character at a crucial moment. The authenticity paradox reveals why this approach often backfires. When you consciously try to fake qualities you don't believe you possess, you create internal resistance that actually blocks access to your natural capabilities. The energy required to maintain this performance drains the very resources needed for genuine growth and expression. It's like trying to drive with one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. You're expending enormous energy while creating internal conflict that prevents smooth forward motion. This raises a crucial distinction between pretense and embodiment. Pretense involves consciously manufacturing behaviors and characteristics you don't believe you possess. It creates a split in your attention. Part of you focused on the performance while another part monitors how well you're maintaining it. This divided attention not only feels exhausting, but actually impairs your ability to engage fully in the present moment. Embodiment, by contrast, involves accessing and expressing qualities that already exist within you, even if they're currently dormant or underdeveloped. Rather than trying to become something foreign to your nature, embodiment is about allowing your authentic potential to emerge. It's the difference between trying to imitate someone else's voice versus finding your own voice and allowing it to grow stronger through expression. The neurological impact of these different approaches is significant. When engaging in pretense, your brain must constantly compare your performance against an external model while suppressing your natural impulses. This creates cognitive load and activates stress responses that inhibit optimal functioning. Embodiment, however, activates neural pathways of natural expression and growth, allowing you to access flow states where performance becomes effortless rather than forced. Consider the metaphor of borrowed clothes versus your own wardrobe. Borrowed clothes might temporarily create a certain appearance, but they never quite fit right and require constant adjustment to maintain. Your own clothes, even as they evolve with your changing style, feel natural and allow free movement. Similarly, borrowed behaviors create constant friction, while embodied qualities allow natural expression. Some might argue that maintaining unwavering authenticity means accepting current limitations, that growth requires pushing beyond your comfort zone into new behaviors. However, this represents a misunderstanding of authentic growth. True authenticity isn't about remaining fixed in current patterns, but about maintaining integrity with your highest potential as you evolve. The key lies in recognizing the subtle but crucial difference between forcing yourself to become something new versus allowing yourself to express something that already exists within you. When you attempt to fake confidence, for instance, you create an artificial performance that others can subtly sense isn't genuine. But when you access and express the confident aspect of yourself that already exists, even if it's currently underdeveloped, you create an authentic expression that naturally strengthens through use. This shift from faking to embodying transforms how you approach growth and development. Rather than asking, "How can I appear more confident?" the question becomes, "How can I access and express the confidence that already exists within me?" This reframe changes everything, from how you carry yourself to how others respond to your presence. The practice of acting as if takes on new meaning through this lens. Instead of creating a performance disconnected from your true self, it becomes an invitation to align your outer expression with your inner potential. This alignment creates a powerful resonance that others naturally respond to, accelerating your growth while maintaining complete authenticity. When you operate from this place of alignment, you tap into a wellspring of natural power that was always yours. It simply needed the right conditions to flow freely. Your actions become effortless expressions of who you truly are rather than calculated attempts to project a certain image. This authentic resonance creates a magnetic quality that draws opportunities and connections to you naturally, without force or manipulation. Chapter 8: The Permission Protocol. You stand at the edge of possibility, fully equipped with the skills, knowledge, and opportunity to move forward. External circumstances align perfectly, yet something holds you back. An invisible barrier more powerful than any physical obstacle. This moment of hesitation, this silent waiting for some unspoken permission, reveals one of the most profound truths about human potential. Often, the most significant limitations we face aren't external, but self-imposed. Consider how many times you've caught yourself thinking, "I'm not ready yet," or "Who am I to do this?" Despite clear evidence of your capability. These thoughts aren't random, they're manifestations of deeply embedded beliefs about what you're allowed to do, be, and have. These self-imposed limitations function like invisible fences, creating boundaries in your mind long after external constraints have disappeared. The psychology of self-permission runs deeper than simple self-doubt. It operates at the level of identity, shaping your actions through unconscious beliefs about your place in the world. These beliefs often originate from early experiences where boundaries were necessary for safety or development. But like trained elephants who won't cross an imaginary line where a chain once existed, you may be honoring restrictions that no longer serve any purpose. Cultural narratives reinforce these self-imposed limitations, creating unwritten rules about who gets to claim certain roles, positions, or achievements. You internalize these messages until they become part of your operating system, running silently in the background of every decision. The result is a peculiar form of self-censorship where you become both the restricted and the restrictor. The protective function of these limitations can't be ignored. By staying within familiar boundaries, you maintain a sense of safety and predictability. Yet this protection comes at an enormous cost, the sacrifice of your full potential. Every time you wait for permission you already possess, you reinforce the belief that your authority must come from outside yourself. What makes these self-imposed limitations particularly challenging is their invisibility. Unlike external obstacles that can be clearly identified and addressed, these internal barriers often operate outside your conscious awareness. They manifest as hesitation, procrastination, or a vague sense of not yet that keeps you perpetually preparing but never fully launching. The process of dismantling these limitations begins with recognition. Where in your life are you waiting for permission? What specific authorization do you believe you need? Often you'll discover you're waiting for approval that no one is actually qualified to give. Permission to be yourself fully, to take up space, to pursue your dreams without apology. This isn't about reckless abandonment of all boundaries or ego-driven entitlement. Rather, it's about conscious discernment between necessary limits and self-imposed restrictions that no longer serve. True authority isn't about claiming power over others, but about claiming the power that already exists within you. The transformation from self-limitation to self-authorization requires more than intellectual understanding. It demands a fundamental shift in how you relate to your own authority. Every time you catch yourself waiting for permission, ask, what if I already have the authorization I'm seeking? What if I'm the one qualified to give it? The practice of acting as if takes on new meaning in this context. Instead of waiting until you feel fully ready or worthy, you begin by giving yourself permission to inhabit your potential now. This isn't about pretending or forcing, it's about recognizing and releasing the artificial constraints you've placed on your own expression. The most profound shift occurs when you realize that the authority you've been seeking externally has always existed within you. The permission you need isn't waiting for some future achievement or external validation. It's available the moment you choose to grant it to yourself. This truth often feels too simple to accept, yet its power lies in its simplicity. You've spent years building elaborate frameworks of qualification, measuring yourself against shifting standards that always seem just out of reach. But authority isn't earned through endless preparation. It emerges when you finally recognize your inherent capacity to choose, to act, to lead in your own life. The gap between where you are and where you want to be isn't filled by accumulating more credentials or waiting for the perfect moment. It closes the instant you acknowledge your own voice as the one you've been waiting to hear. Chapter 9. The Embodiment Practice. The gap between knowing and doing represents one of the most frustrating challenges in personal transformation. You might understand perfectly how confidence works, recognize the power of stepping into your potential, and intellectually grasp every concept about self-trust, yet still find yourself hesitating in crucial moments. This disconnect between intellectual understanding and lived experience isn't a sign of failure or lack of commitment. Instead, it reveals a fundamental truth about how lasting transformation occurs. Consider how often you've encountered someone who can eloquently explain complex principles of leadership, communication, or personal effectiveness, yet struggles to embody these concepts in real situations. Contrast this with those rare individuals who naturally express these same principles without being able to articulate how they do it. The difference lies not in the quality of understanding, but in the depth of integration. Your body holds wisdom that extends far beyond conscious thought. Every emotion, belief, and pattern of behavior has both mental and physical components. When you feel confident, it's not just a thought. It's a full-body experience involving posture, breathing, muscle tension, and countless subtle physical signals. Similarly, when you doubt yourself, these patterns reverse, creating physical manifestations of uncertainty that reinforce mental hesitation. This mind-body connection explains why purely intellectual approaches to change often fall short. Reading about confidence or understanding its psychological components provides a crucial foundation, but lasting transformation requires integration at the physical level. Your nervous system, which governs both conscious and unconscious responses, learns most effectively through direct experience rather than abstract understanding. The concept of embodiment, bringing conscious awareness to how you physically express different states of being, provides a bridge between knowledge and experience. When you adjust your posture, breathing, and movement patterns to align with confident states, you're not just mimicking confidence. You're actually creating the physiological conditions that support it. This isn't about superficial imitation, but about accessing and amplifying authentic expressions of your potential that already exist within you. Think of this integration like learning to ride a bicycle. No amount of theoretical understanding about balance, momentum, and steering can replace the direct physical experience of finding your center of gravity while in motion. Your body must learn through experience, creating new neural pathways that eventually make the complex coordination feel natural and automatic. The same principle applies to acting as if. It becomes most powerful when engaged as a full system experience, rather than a mental exercise alone. Each time you physically embody the state you're developing, you're creating new neural patterns that make this state more accessible and natural. Your body becomes a living repository of this knowledge, accessible even in challenging moments when the conscious mind might falter. Research in neuroscience supports this approach, showing how physical states directly influence psychological states, and vice versa. When you adopt postures associated with confidence, your testosterone levels tend to rise while cortisol, stress hormone levels, decrease. These biochemical changes affect not just how you feel, but how effectively you perform and how others respond to you. The key distinction here is between information stored intellectually versus wisdom integrated cellularly. Intellectual understanding exists in the realm of thought, while embodied knowing exists in your entire system. This integration creates a foundation for consistent expression of new capabilities, even under pressure or in unfamiliar situations. This process happens not through force, but through patient attention to the subtle signals your body constantly provides. By bringing conscious awareness to how different states feel physically, noting changes in breathing, muscle tension, energy levels, and overall sensation, you develop a more nuanced understanding of your own internal landscape. This awareness allows you to recognize when you're aligned with your potential and when you've shifted into limiting patterns. The body thus becomes both teacher and tool in the process of transformation. Every physical adjustment that aligns with your highest potential creates a feedback loop, reinforcing new patterns of being through direct experience. This isn't about overriding your natural responses, but about expanding your range of authentic expression to include more empowered states. As you tune into these physical signals, you'll discover that your body holds wisdom far beyond intellectual understanding, wisdom that guides you toward alignment with your true capabilities. Each moment of embodied awareness serves as a bridge between who you've been and who you're becoming, creating an unshakable foundation for growth that goes beyond mere behavioral change. Your body becomes a reliable compass, pointing the way toward authentic power while steering you away from patterns that no longer serve your evolution. Chapter 10. The Comparison Cure. Success surrounds you in an endless stream of social media updates, professional announcements, and personal milestones. Each achievement by others presents a moment of choice. Will you allow it to diminish your own light, or transform it into fuel for your growth? This natural tendency to compare isn't a character flaw, but a deeply ingrained human response, shaped by evolution to help us gauge our position within social groups. Yet in today's hyper-connected world, this once useful mechanism often works against us. The psychological impact of comparison runs deeper than most realize. When you encounter others' success, your brain automatically engages in social comparison processing, evaluating your position relative to theirs. This triggers a cascade of neurological responses that can either energize or deplete you, depending on how you interpret the information. Research shows that the same achievement viewed by two different people can produce opposite effects, inspiration or deflation, based entirely on their perspective. What makes this dynamic particularly challenging is its contradictory nature. Comparison can simultaneously motivate you to reach higher while convincing you that you'll never measure up. It can spark creative energy while paralyzing action. This duality exists because comparison itself is neutral. It's your relationship with it that determines its impact. The digital age has amplified this challenge exponentially. You're no longer just comparing yourself to your immediate circle, but to a global highlight reel of curated success. Every scroll through your feed exposes you to carefully selected moments of triumph, creating an artificial standard that no one, not even those posting, can consistently match. The real cost of unhealthy comparison isn't just emotional discomfort. It's the diversion of precious energy from creation to evaluation. Every moment spent measuring yourself against others is a moment not invested in your own growth. This creates a self-perpetuating cycle. The more you compare, the less you create. The less you create, the more inadequate you feel. The more inadequate you feel, the more you compare. Understanding comparison through the lens of borrowed measuring sticks reveals its fundamental flaw. When you evaluate your Chapter 3 against someone else's Chapter 30, you're using an inherently misaligned metric. Success isn't a standardized measurement, but a deeply personal journey that can only be accurately gauged against your own previous position. This doesn't mean eliminating comparison entirely. That would be both impossible and undesirable. The key lies in transforming your relationship with it. Instead of using others' achievements as evidence of your inadequacy, you can view them as data points that expand your sense of what's possible. Their success doesn't diminish your potential, it illuminates it. The shift from reactive to intentional comparison begins with awareness. Notice the automatic response when encountering others' achievements, the subtle tightening in your chest, the mental scorecard that immediately activates. This awareness creates space between stimulus and response, allowing you to choose your interpretation rather than being driven by unconscious patterns. Transforming comparison from a source of judgment to a source of inspiration requires recognizing that success isn't a finite resource. Someone else's achievement doesn't reduce the amount available to you. In fact, their success can serve as valuable market research, revealing what's possible and providing insights into effective pathways. When you encounter others' success, practice intentional interpretation. Instead of asking, "Why them and not me?" ask, "What does this show me about what's possible?" Rather than using their achievement to measure your inadequacy, use it to expand your sense of potential. This shift transforms comparison from a tool of self-judgment into a catalyst for growth. The most powerful antidote to unhealthy comparison is full engagement with your own path. When you're deeply immersed in your own creation and growth, others' achievements naturally shift from threats to inspiration. Their success becomes evidence supporting your own potential rather than questioning it. The ultimate aim isn't to become immune to comparison, but to transform it into fuel for your journey. Each encounter with others' success becomes an opportunity to expand your vision of what's achievable. You're not dismissing the natural impulse to compare. You're redirecting it toward growth. When you see someone reach a milestone you desire, let their achievement illuminate the path ahead, rather than cast a shadow on where you stand. Their success doesn't diminish your potential. It proves what's possible for anyone willing to persist through challenges and remain true to their vision. Chapter 11. The Social Mirror. Your authentic self isn't a fixed point, but a dynamic interplay between internal truth and external expression. Each day presents countless moments where you must navigate the delicate balance between who you are and how you show up in different social contexts. This fundamental tension between authenticity and adaptation shapes every interaction, from casual conversations to high-stakes professional situations. Consider how your energy and presence naturally shift as you move through different environments throughout your day. These shifts aren't necessarily inauthentic. They're your system's intelligent response to varying social contexts. The key lies in distinguishing between conscious adaptation and unconscious people-pleasing. Research in social psychology reveals that our self-concept develops through both internal reflection and external feedback. This bidirectional relationship means others' reactions invariably influence how we see ourselves, creating a complex dance between individual identity and social perception. Understanding this dynamic frees you from the false choice between being yourself and managing impressions. The real opportunity lies in aligning your authentic expression with effective communication across contexts. The social mirror reflects back not just your current presentation, but your accumulated patterns of interaction. Early experiences with caregivers created templates for how you engage with others, establishing deep grooves that often operate below conscious awareness. These patterns can either constrict authentic expression or provide a foundation for genuine connection, depending on how mindfully you engage with them. Rather than viewing social adaptation as compromise, Consider it an extension of your authentic expression, like a musician who maintains artistic integrity while adjusting performance dynamics to different venues. This shift transforms impression management from manipulation into skillful communication of your genuine self. Your foundation must be solid ground rather than reflective waters, anchored in consistent values and self-knowledge, rather than shifting with every social current. This internal stability allows for flexible expression without losing your center. When you're grounded in authentic presence, adaptation becomes a choice rather than a compulsion. The path forward isn't about rigidly maintaining one way of being across all situations, nor is it about becoming a social chameleon. Instead, it's about developing the discernment to recognize when social feedback offers valuable information about your impact versus when it pulls you away from your truth. This discernment grows through conscious attention to both internal signals and external cues. Building this capacity requires understanding that consistency doesn't mean uniformity. Your authentic self can express differently across contexts while maintaining alignment with core values and identity. This fluidity allows you to remain true to yourself while skillfully navigating social dynamics. Rejection and criticism test this alignment most strongly, revealing whether your self-concept truly rests on solid ground or still seeks validation through reflective waters. These challenges expose any gaps between intellectual understanding of authenticity and embodied self-trust. The practice of acting as if takes on new meaning in this context, not as performance for others' approval, but as consistent expression of your highest self across varying environments. This approach transforms social interaction from a source of tension into an opportunity for deeper, authentic engagement. Success in this domain isn't measured by maintaining a rigid self-presentation or by becoming whoever others want you to be. Rather, it's about developing the capacity to express your authentic self with both integrity and skill across the full spectrum of social contexts you encounter. This fluidity becomes your greatest strength, allowing you to move through different environments while remaining anchored to your core values and truth. When you master this balance, you'll find yourself naturally adapting without compromising, responding without reacting, and connecting without losing yourself in others' expectations. The goal isn't perfect consistency, but rather conscious authenticity that honors both your inner truth and the natural ebb and flow of human interaction. Like water taking the shape of its container while maintaining its essential nature, you learn to flow through various social situations without diluting who you are. This dynamic authenticity transforms what might once have felt like a tightrope walk between self-expression and social acceptance into a natural dance of genuine engagement. You'll discover that true adaptability isn't about wearing different masks, but about revealing different facets of your authentic self as each situation calls for them. The freedom this brings is profound. No longer caught between rigidity and conformity, you move with grace through life's varied landscapes. Your relationships deepen because people sense the genuine nature of your presence, and your impact grows because your truth resonates across contexts. This mastery of authentic expression becomes not just a social skill, but a foundation for meaningful connection and lasting influence. Chapter 12. The Rejection, Resilience. When criticism strikes, your immediate reaction reveals everything about your relationship with yourself. In those crucial moments after receiving feedback, your internal response either reinforces limiting beliefs or demonstrates your unshakable core. This fundamental choice, between letting external judgment define you or using it as information for growth determines not just how you feel in the moment, but how freely you'll express yourself going forward. The power criticism holds over us stems from deep evolutionary roots. Our ancestors' survival depended on group acceptance, making rejection literally life-threatening. This ancient wiring still influences our modern responses, triggering physiological stress reactions, even to minor criticism. Understanding this evolutionary context helps explain why rejection feels viscerally threatening, even when we know intellectually that it poses no actual danger. Yet biology isn't destiny. While we're wired to be sensitive to social feedback, we can transform our relationship with criticism through a profound shift in perspective. This transformation begins with recognizing that criticism's impact comes not from the words themselves, but from how we interpret them through our self-concept filter. When you approach life from the stance of acting as if you are already whole and worthy, criticism loses its power to define you. Instead of shattering your sense of self, it becomes information about the critic's perspective, valuable data you can evaluate objectively while maintaining internal alignment. This shift creates what we might call permeable boundaries, a self-concept sturdy enough to maintain integrity while remaining open to useful feedback. Unlike rigid defensiveness that rejects all criticism or porous boundaries that absorb every judgment, permeable boundaries allow you to engage with feedback discerningly. Consider how this manifests physiologically. When criticism triggers a threat response, your body tenses, breathing becomes shallow, and cognitive function narrows, all responses that reinforce the perception of criticism as dangerous. But when you maintain alignment with your inherent worth, you can stay physiologically regulated, keeping access to your full cognitive and emotional resources. This regulated state allows you to extract value from even harsh feedback without taking it personally. You can acknowledge the emotional impact while recognizing that temporary discomfort doesn't equal lasting damage to your worth. This creates space to ask, what information might be useful here? What can I learn about my impact on others? How might this help me grow? The key lies in separating observation from identity. When someone criticizes your work, they're commenting on specific actions or outcomes, not delivering a verdict on your fundamental value as a person. This distinction allows you to engage with feedback productively while maintaining internal stability. Criticism often holds particular power because it activates old wounds and limiting beliefs. The words themselves matter less than what they seem to confirm about our deepest fears. Understanding this pattern allows you to recognize when present reactions stem from past hurts rather than current reality. By maintaining alignment with your authentic self during criticism, you transform these triggering moments into opportunities for growth. Instead of contracting into self-protection, you can remain expansive, curious, and engaged. This doesn't mean criticism won't affect you. It means you can be affected without being defined. The ultimate paradox is that becoming truly resilient to criticism requires first acknowledging your vulnerability to it. When you stop fighting your natural sensitivity and instead build a strong internal foundation, external feedback loses its power to destabilize you. This transformed relationship with criticism creates a virtuous cycle. The more you maintain self-alignment during challenging feedback, the stronger your internal reference point becomes. Each instance of navigating criticism while staying connected to your worth builds evidence for your resilience. By implementing this shift in perspective, criticism transitions from a threat to be avoided into information to be evaluated. You move from asking, "What's wrong with me?" to "What can I learn here?" This fundamental reframe allows you to engage with feedback from a place of secure self-worth rather than desperate self-protection. When you approach criticism with genuine curiosity rather than fear, you create space between the feedback itself and your core identity. This emotional distance enables you to extract valuable insights while leaving behind what doesn't serve your growth. Each piece of criticism becomes an opportunity to refine your understanding, strengthen your resilience, and deepen your connection to your authentic self. Chapter 13: The Professional Edge. The difference between good performance and extraordinary impact in your professional life often has less to do with capability than with how you perceive and present that capability. Consider two equally qualified professionals making the same recommendation in a meeting. One prefaces their insight with qualifiers and subtle self-deprecation, while the other delivers it with grounded certainty. Though the content remains identical, the reception and influence of these contributions differ dramatically. Professional environments amplify the impact of self-perception because they operate through layers of subtle signaling. Your belief in your value doesn't just influence your actions, it shapes how others interpret your contributions, affecting everything from daily interactions to long-term career trajectory. When you consistently undervalue your expertise, you inadvertently train others to do the same. This dynamic becomes particularly evident in compensation discussions. Your salary expectations create an invisible ceiling that influences not just what you ask for, but how decision-makers perceive your market value. Research has consistently shown that initial salary anchors dramatically impact negotiation outcomes. Yet these anchors often reflect internal beliefs about worth rather than market reality. The principle of acting as if transforms professional expression by shifting the foundation of your workplace presence. Rather than attempting to prove value through constant achievement, you operate from an unshakable recognition of the expertise and insight you already possess. This subtle but crucial difference manifests in multiple ways: presenting ideas with clarity rather than seeking validation, making requests aligned with your worth rather than your comfort zone, and navigating challenges from a place of capability rather than uncertainty. Professional gravity emerges naturally from this aligned self-concept. When you embody the full scope of your expertise without hesitation or apology, you create a magnetic field that attracts opportunities, resources, and recognition. This isn't about manufacturing an impression, but about removing the artificial constraints that have been limiting your natural impact. The most powerful professional transformations often occur through seemingly minor shifts in presence. In presentations, speaking from embodied authority rather than seeking approval changes the entire dynamic of audience engagement. In negotiations, operating from clear recognition of value rather than hope for acceptance dramatically affects outcomes. In leadership moments, acting from genuine capability rather than positional authority creates authentic influence that transcends formal hierarchy. This shift requires distinguishing between two fundamentally different approaches to professional growth. The first attempts to accumulate enough external validation to finally feel qualified. The second recognizes existing capability and allows it full expression. The former creates a perpetual proving ground. The latter establishes a platform for genuine impact. Yet this raises a common concern. How do you embody professional excellence without appearing arrogant or presumptuous? The key lies in understanding that true authority doesn't need to announce itself. Genuine confidence manifests as clarity rather than swagger, as consistent delivery rather than constant declaration. It's the difference between someone trying to convince others of their expertise versus someone simply operating from it. What makes this principle particularly powerful in professional contexts is its compound effect over time. Each interaction builds upon the last, creating momentum, as your aligned self-concept consistently shapes how others experience your contributions. Small shifts in how you carry your expertise create ripple effects that influence everything from daily team dynamics to long-term career opportunities. The professional world ultimately responds not just to what you do, but to who you are being while doing it. Technical excellence combined with tentative self-concept will consistently yield different results than the same excellence expressed through aligned self-perception. This fundamental truth transforms professional development from an endless acquisition of skills into an ongoing emergence of authentic impact. The most profound professional transformations come not from learning new capabilities, but from fully inhabiting the ones you already possess. When you act as if you are already the professional you aspire to be, not through pretense, but through alignment with your highest potential, you create the conditions for natural excellence to emerge. Your talents and abilities have always existed within you, waiting for the moment when your self-perception catches up to their true scope. Each time you choose to embody your full potential rather than shrink from it, you reinforce neural pathways of confidence and competence that make this elevated way of being increasingly natural. This isn't about manufacturing false bravado or mimicking others' success. It's about allowing yourself to access and express the capabilities that have been yours all along. Chapter 14: The Relationship Revolution. Your relationships serve as mirrors, reflecting back not just who you are, but, more importantly, who you believe yourself to be. When you enter any interaction carrying doubt about your worth, that uncertainty colors every exchange, creating subtle distortions that shape how others respond to you. This dynamic plays out countless times each day, from casual conversations to your most intimate connections. The relationship patterns that frustrate you most, seeking constant validation, struggling to maintain boundaries, feeling threatened by others' success, or losing yourself in relationships, stem not from lack of relationship skills, but from how you see yourself in relation to others. When you believe your worth depends on others' approval, you unconsciously create the very dynamics that reinforce this belief. You might find yourself overextending to prove your value, accepting treatment that doesn't align with your standards, or holding back authentic expression for fear of rejection. What makes this pattern particularly challenging is that it operates below conscious awareness. You may intellectually understand that your worth isn't dependent on others' validation, yet still find yourself engaging in behaviors that suggest otherwise. This disconnect between knowledge and embodiment creates additional tension, as you judge yourself for falling into patterns you know aren't serving you. The transformation begins with recognizing that every relationship interaction is fundamentally shaped by your relationship with yourself. When you approach connections from a place of internal alignment, rather than seeking completion or validation, the entire dynamic shifts. This isn't about becoming independent to the point of isolation. It's about bringing your whole self to relationships rather than looking to them to make you whole. Consider how differently you show up when you're seeking validation versus when you're securely anchored in your worth. In the first instance, you're constantly scanning for approval, adjusting your behavior based on others' reactions, and likely feeling exhausted from maintaining this hypervigilance. In the second, you're free to be present, genuinely curious about others, and able to maintain authentic connection even during disagreement or conflict. The quality of your presence in relationships transforms when you operate from the understanding that while connections can profoundly enrich your life, they don't determine your fundamental worth. This shift creates what might be called relational oxygen, space for both parties to breathe, grow, and relate from choice rather than need. When you're no longer pursuing relationships to fill an internal void, you can appreciate them for what they truly offer: opportunities for sharing, growth, and mutual enrichment. This principle extends beyond romantic relationships to every human interaction. In professional settings, it allows you to collaborate without competition. In friendships, it enables you to celebrate others' successes without feeling diminished. In family dynamics, it helps you maintain boundaries without guilt. The common thread is that when you're anchored in self-worth, you can engage with others from a place of genuine connection, rather than compensation for perceived lack. Many resist this principle, fearing that focusing on self-worth might make them selfish or less available to others. Yet the opposite proves true. The more securely you're anchored in your worth, the more genuinely available you become for authentic connection. When you're not constantly managing others' impressions or seeking validation, you have more energy and attention for real engagement. The embodiment of this principle in relationships requires consistent awareness of where you're operating from in each interaction. Are you engaging from a place of secure self-worth or seeking validation? Are your actions motivated by genuine care or by fear of rejection? Are you maintaining boundaries from confidence in your worth or defensiveness about your insecurities? When you consistently orient from internal alignment rather than external validation, relationships naturally become clearer, cleaner, and more fulfilling. This doesn't mean they become perfect. Relationships will always involve challenges and growth opportunities. However, when you approach these challenges from a foundation of secure self-worth, they become opportunities for deepening connection rather than triggers for insecurity. The practical application of acting as if in relationships involves maintaining your center of gravity within yourself, while remaining open to deep connection with others. This balance allows you to care profoundly about relationships while not making them responsible for your sense of worth. It enables you to invest fully in connections while maintaining healthy boundaries. Most importantly, it allows you to bring your authentic self to every interaction, creating the foundation for genuine intimacy and lasting connection. Chapter 15. The Leadership Presence. Leadership presence exists beyond technique or position. It emanates from a profound internal alignment that others can sense before you speak a word. You've likely experienced this yourself, entering a room and immediately knowing who holds genuine influence, regardless of their formal authority. This invisible yet palpable quality transcends personality type, position, or conventional leadership skills. When you attempt to lead through technique alone, something essential remains missing. You can master every communication framework, study countless leadership models, and diligently apply best practices, yet still find your impact falling short of its potential. This disconnect occurs because leadership presence originates not from what you do, but from who you are being. The fundamental truth about influence is that people respond more to your internal state than your external behaviors. Through mirror neurons, specialized brain cells designed for social connection, others unconsciously attune to your level of internal alignment. When your words, actions, and energy align with genuine conviction, this congruence creates a resonance that others naturally trust and follow. Conversely, When you're internally conflicted or attempting to project authority you don't fully embody, this misalignment creates subtle resistance in others, regardless of how polished your presentation might be. This explains why identical leadership techniques yield dramatically different results depending on who applies them. The distinguishing factor isn't skill, but state, the degree to which you're operating from authentic alignment versus performative authority. Your team can sense the difference between genuine certainty and compensatory confidence, between natural authority and positional power. Leadership resonance occurs when your internal conviction creates harmonics that amplify your influence beyond explicit communication. Like a tuning fork that causes nearby instruments to vibrate at the same frequency, your aligned presence activates latent potential in others. This isn't about personality or charisma, it's about the natural influence that emerges when you fully embody your authentic power. You might think leadership presence is an innate trait possessed by a select few. However, while personality-based charisma may be relatively fixed, presence-based influence can be cultivated by anyone willing to do the internal work. The key lies not in adopting specific behaviors, but in removing the internal barriers that prevent your natural authority from expressing itself. When you maintain alignment under pressure, others unconsciously register your unshakable center and respond accordingly. Your unwavering self-trust becomes a reference point that helps others access their own capacity for certainty. This creates a profound shift from trying to convince or control to simply being a congruent expression of possibility that awakens similar potential in those around you. True leadership presence emerges when you cease trying to be a leader and instead fully inhabit your authentic power. This requires developing your capacity to maintain internal alignment regardless of external circumstances. The more consistently you operate from this aligned state, the more naturally others will be drawn to your influence. Your leadership impact ultimately reflects your relationship with your own potential. When you lead from authentic self-alignment rather than acquired techniques, you create a field of permission that allows others to access their own innate capabilities. This is the essence of inspiring leadership, not showing others the way, but embodying the possibility that helps them recognize their own path. Remember, leadership begins as an inside job. Your ability to influence others will never exceed your capacity to lead yourself. By developing and maintaining internal alignment, you create the foundation for naturally magnetic leadership that draws forth the best in others through the power of your presence. Every interaction becomes an opportunity to demonstrate what's possible when you operate from unshakable self-trust. Your energy speaks louder than your words. People instinctively recognize and respond to the quiet authority that emerges when your actions align perfectly with your values. This magnetic influence doesn't require force or manipulation. It flows naturally from your commitment to showing up fully in your truth. The more deeply you anchor yourself in authentic self-leadership, the more effortlessly you'll inspire others to discover their own innate wisdom and strength. Chapter 16. The Adversity Advantage. When facing significant setbacks, your relationship with yourself becomes starkly visible. Consider two responses to the same professional setback. In one case, the experience triggers a cascade of self-doubt that spreads into every area of life, while in another, disappointment is acknowledged but doesn't shake core self-trust. The difference lies not in the circumstances, but in the lens through which they're interpreted. This represents the ultimate test of self-concept alignment. It's relatively easy to maintain positive self-regard when everything flows smoothly. The real work begins when external evidence seems to contradict your claimed capabilities. These moments reveal whether your sense of self truly resides within or remains dependent on favorable circumstances. The counterintuitive truth is that challenges provide unique opportunities to strengthen your self-concept, precisely because they trigger habitual patterns of self-doubt. When everything runs smoothly, these patterns remain dormant and unchanged. Only when activated by difficulty do they become visible enough to transform. This explains why some people emerge from adversity more solid in their self-trust while others become increasingly fragile. Your nervous system builds new neural pathways most actively during recovery from disruption, not during periods of stability. This biological principle mirrors the psychological process of identity strengthening through challenge. Each time you maintain alignment with your capability, despite external pressure to doubt yourself, you strengthen the neural network supporting this alignment. The brain doesn't distinguish between success and failure. It registers and reinforces your response to either. Identity crystallizes through consistent choices during pressure, not through theoretical understanding during calm. When circumstances trigger self-doubt, choosing to align with your highest self rather than contracting into limitation creates lasting change. This isn't about denying difficulty or forcing positivity. It's about maintaining connection to your core capability while fully acknowledging present challenges. Consider the difference between weathering and weatherproofing. Weathering implies enduring difficulty through gritted determination, leaving you depleted even if successful. Weatherproofing transforms challenges into opportunities to strengthen your core relationship with yourself, leaving you more resilient after each storm. This distinction determines whether adversity becomes defining or strengthening. This isn't about toxic positivity or denying reality. Grounded optimism acknowledges current circumstances while maintaining alignment with your fundamental capability. It recognizes that temporary setbacks provide information about strategy, not identity. This allows you to extract valuable feedback while preventing challenges from creating limiting self-definitions. The key lies in maintaining embodied alignment during difficulty. When stress activates the nervous system's threat response, it becomes harder to access your natural capabilities. The body contracts, breathing becomes shallow, and thinking narrows, creating a self-reinforcing cycle of limitation. Breaking this cycle requires bringing conscious awareness to these physical patterns. Practical implementation involves recognizing the earliest signs of misalignment, tension patterns, breathing changes, postural shifts, and deliberately choosing to maintain expansion rather than contraction. This might mean adjusting posture, deepening breath, or shifting attention from mental spinning to sensory awareness. These subtle physical choices create profound shifts in how you meet challenges. The cumulative effect of maintaining alignment during difficulty transforms your entire relationship with challenge itself. Rather than dreading obstacles as potential identity threats, you begin recognizing them as opportunities to strengthen your core relationship with yourself. This creates an upward spiral, where each challenge met from alignment increases your capacity to maintain alignment during future challenges. This process fundamentally differs from simply pushing through or staying positive. It's about choosing in each moment to align with your highest self rather than contracting into limitation, even when circumstances seem to justify doubt. This choice, made consistently during pressure, creates lasting transformation in how you experience and respond to life's inevitable challenges. The ultimate measure of self-concept isn't how you feel when everything goes well, but whether you can maintain alignment with your capability when external evidence suggests otherwise. This capacity doesn't develop through theory, but through lived experience of moving through difficulty while staying connected to your core strength. Each time you face resistance while holding true to your deeper knowing, you strengthen this internal foundation. The real transformation occurs in those pivotal moments when circumstances tempt you to abandon your truth, yet you choose instead to stand firm in your authentic power. This isn't about forcing positivity or denying reality. It's about anchoring yourself in something more fundamental than temporary conditions. Chapter 17: The Legacy Lens. When you view your life through the lens of time, patterns emerge that remain invisible in the immediacy of daily experience. Imagine yourself at the end of your life looking back on this precise moment. From that vantage point, what currently consumes your attention suddenly appears in stark relief. Some concerns that feel overwhelming now become trivial, while seemingly small choices reveal themselves as pivotal turning points. This perspective shift isn't about fantasy or escapism. It's about accessing the wisdom that already exists within you by temporarily stepping outside the confines of present circumstances. Your future self holds insights about your path precisely because they've witnessed how current decisions ripple through time. Time acts as a powerful filter, stripping away the noise of immediate pressures to reveal what truly matters. The promotion that feels life or death important right now may barely register in your life story 5 years hence. Meanwhile, small acts of courage, moments of vulnerability, or decisions to honor your values over convenience often emerge as the real architects of your legacy. Your future self understands this with crystal clarity. They've witnessed how temporary discomfort in service of growth yields lasting fulfillment, while choices made from fear or external pressure create regret. They know which risks were worth taking and which battles were worth letting go. Most importantly, they see your current potential with unwavering clarity, unclouded by the self-doubt that can feel so convincing in the moment. This temporal perspective reveals how the narrative you're creating through daily choices will read when viewed as a complete story. Are you playing it safe to avoid judgment, or boldly expressing your unique gifts? Are you deferring joy to some future date when circumstances align perfectly, or finding ways to embody it now? Are you waiting for permission to claim your authority, or recognizing that your future self has already granted it? The power of consulting your future perspective lies in its ability to bypass current emotional blocks and limiting beliefs. When you step into that viewpoint, you access a broader wisdom that sees beyond present circumstances to recognize the deeper patterns at play. This isn't about prediction or control. It's about aligning current choices with the legacy you wish to create. Your future self understands that most fears never materialize, that rejection rarely proves fatal, and that regret comes more from inaction than from taking considered risks. They've witnessed how opportunities that seemed terrifying often became defining moments of growth, while safe choices sometimes led to stagnation masked as stability. This perspective shift fundamentally transforms how you navigate decisions. Instead of asking, "What's the safest choice?" or "What will others think?" you begin asking, "What choice will I be proud to have made?" And "What story do I want this moment to tell in the larger narrative of my life?" The wisdom of your future self reveals that playing small never serves, that authenticity attracts more opportunities than perfection, and that internal alignment creates more sustainable success than external striving. They understand that genuine confidence comes from progressive self-trust rather than accumulated achievements. When you regularly consult this future perspective, You naturally begin making choices aligned with your highest potential rather than your current fears. You recognize that every moment offers an opportunity to strengthen or weaken your relationship with yourself through the alignment of your choices with your values. Your future self has already witnessed how temporary setbacks that feel devastating in the moment often catalyze the most significant growth. They've seen how relationships that prioritize authentic connection over approval seeking create lasting fulfillment. They understand that leadership flowing from internal alignment inspires more lasting change than techniques or positions ever could. Most importantly, your future self knows that the quality of your life ultimately reflects the quality of your relationship with yourself. That external circumstances matter far less than how you choose to engage with them. They've witnessed how this core relationship either amplifies or diminishes every experience, relationship, and opportunity. This perspective illuminates the profound truth that acting as if isn't about pretending to be something you're not, but about aligning with the wisdom you already possess. Your future self isn't a different person. They're you with the benefit of perspective, offering guidance about which current choices will create the legacy you truly desire. Chapter 18. The Integration Imperative. Just as learning to drive initially demands intense focus on every detail, checking mirrors, signaling turns, managing speed, gauging distance, only to eventually become so automatic you arrive at destinations barely remembering the journey. The path to excellence follows a similar pattern of conscious practice transforming into unconscious mastery. You likely remember the overwhelming sensation of first sitting behind the wheel, when even basic maneuvers required your complete attention. The coordination of multiple actions felt impossible to manage simultaneously. Yet today, you seamlessly navigate complex traffic situations while holding conversations or planning your day. This transformation didn't happen through wishful thinking or sudden breakthrough. It emerged through consistent practice that gradually rewired your neural pathways until excellence became your default state. This same principle applies to every area of mastery. When you first begin consciously practicing self-alignment and embodying your highest potential, it requires deliberate attention and often feels awkward or forced. You question whether you're doing it right, and may experience frustration when you slip back into old patterns. This is not only normal, but necessary. It reflects the natural integration process as your brain and nervous system adapt to new ways of being. The science of skill acquisition reveals that myelin, the insulating substance around neural pathways, builds through consistent practice. Each time you choose alignment over limitation, you strengthen these pathways. Initially, this requires conscious effort, but gradually the resistance diminishes as your brain recognizes and reinforces these patterns. This explains why transformation often feels like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're not failing when you temporarily regress. You're allowing your system to integrate new patterns at a sustainable pace. This integration happens through expanding spirals rather than linear progression. You may revisit similar challenges repeatedly, but each time from a more expanded perspective. What once triggered immediate self-doubt might later prompt momentary hesitation, then eventually pass without disturbing your alignment. This spiraling pattern enables deeper integration than forcing linear progress. Your brain naturally conserves energy by automating frequently repeated patterns. When you consistently practice alignment, your neural pathways reorganize to make this your default state. Just as an experienced driver doesn't consciously think about the mechanics of driving, you'll find yourself naturally responding from alignment without conscious effort. The environment plays a crucial role in this integration process. Your brain forms associations between contexts and behaviors, which is why you may find it easier to maintain alignment in some situations than others. By consciously designing your environment to support aligned choices and gradually expanding into more challenging contexts, you create conditions that accelerate integration. This process transcends simple habit formation. You're not just changing behaviors, but reinforcing a fundamental shift in how you operate in the world. Each aligned choice strengthens your connection to your innate capabilities. The effort required diminishes not because you're forcing change, but because you're removing the barriers to your natural state of excellence. Recognition plays a crucial role in strengthening these neural pathways. By consciously acknowledging moments of alignment, times when you responded with confidence instead of doubt, expressed yourself fully instead of holding back, or maintained clarity during challenge, you reinforce these patterns. This isn't about celebrating perfection, but appreciating progress while maintaining momentum toward deeper integration. The compound effect of consistent practice creates an accelerating cycle. As alignment becomes your baseline, you naturally attract circumstances that reinforce this state. Opportunities that once seemed intimidating become invitations to express your capabilities. Challenges that would have triggered limitations now serve as catalysts for expansion. This brings us full circle to the fundamental truth. Excellence isn't about becoming someone new, but removing the barriers to who you've always been. Integration doesn't create capability. It reveals it by clearing the path to your natural state of alignment with your highest potential. Through this process of uncovering rather than adding, you liberate the innate wisdom and strength that have always resided within you. Each layer of resistance you release allows more of your authentic power to shine through. Much like clearing clouds from the sky doesn't create the sun, it simply allows its light to reach the earth unobstructed. Your journey isn't about building something from scratch, but rather about returning to your original state of wholeness and expressing it fully in the world. Conclusion. As we conclude our exploration of the transformative power of acting as if, take a moment to acknowledge the profound journey you've undertaken. This hasn't been a linear path of acquiring new techniques, but rather a spiral of remembering and reclaiming what has always existed within you. Where once you may have seen an invisible ceiling limiting your potential, you now recognize the open sky of possibility that emerges when you align with your inherent capacity for excellence. Throughout these chapters, we've uncovered fundamental truths about human potential and performance. You've discovered that excellence isn't achieved through straining toward external standards, but through alignment with your internal truth. You've learned that genuine confidence flows not from accumulating victories, but from honoring commitments to yourself. You've seen how challenges reveal rather than determine your capabilities, and how acting as if represents the highest form of integrity, bringing your outer expression into alignment with your inner potential. You might naturally wonder about maintaining these shifts, especially during inevitable moments of doubt or pressure. Remember that transformation happens in spirals rather than straight lines. Each return to familiar challenges offers a fresh opportunity to respond from a more aligned place. What may feel like regression often signals integration, your system incorporating deeper levels of truth that will ultimately strengthen your foundation. The practices and principles explored in this book aren't meant to be temporary techniques, but rather gateways to a fundamental shift in how you relate to yourself and the world. This ongoing nature of growth isn't evidence of incompletion, but rather the natural expression of unlimited potential, continually revealing itself through experience. As you close these chapters and step back into your life, carry with you the profound understanding that the question is no longer whether you're capable of extraordinary impact. The real question is how your unique expression will continue to unfold as you move through the world from this new foundation of unshakable self-trust. Trust the process that's now begun. Your journey of alignment with excellence isn't ending. It's evolving into its next spiral of expansion. The ceiling has dissolved. The sky is yours to explore. Each step forward reveals new horizons of possibility. Each challenge transformed into an invitation for growth. You've awakened something profound within yourself. A knowing that transcends circumstance, and a power that grows stronger through expression. As you move through your days with this expanded awareness, you'll find yourself naturally rising to occasions that once seemed beyond reach, meeting life's moments with a grace that flows from true self-trust. Thank you for joining me on this journey. Remember, you're capable of so much more than you know. Now, take the next step and make it happen. Now, take the next step and make it happen.